going to do now is just quickly scoot through some of the red flags that you need to look out for as a landlord. So, personal safety risks for UK landlords who rent to illegal immigrants are a real concern, primarily due to the indirect factors associated with the tenant's precarious legal situation, criminal exploitation by the human trafficking gangs that have transported them to the UK, and the illegal nature of the rental arrangement you'll be entering into because it's not legal. These risks are generally not linked to higher crime rates among legal migrants, but rather to the specific circumstances of undocumented tenants and landlords' potential involvement in criminal activity by renting to them. Here are specific ways that government letting thousands of illegal immigrants into the UK every day is putting landlord safety at risk. You're making yourself vulnerable to criminal exploitation. Undocumented immigrants are obviously indebted to people smugglers or other criminal gangs who help them enter the UK. So you're exposing yourself to intimidation and violence. A landlord can be drawn into a dangerous situation with these gangs who may use threats and violence against the tenant or you as the landlord, or to collect payments or enforce compliance from that illegal migrant. And I mean compliance of repaying their debt. You may be involved in forced illegal activities. Undocumented tenants may be coerced into illegal activities by the people who helped them enter the UK. This can include working for no wages or low wages, which is basically modern day slavery, and that could be in dangerous conditions. And this is all for them to repay the debts that they owe to the criminal networks. If these activities take place at your property, it then exposes you as the landlord to relatively high stakes criminal activity, which is not the reason that you set up as a landlord, right? There's also risk of you becoming a target for other criminals. If you as a landlord knowingly rent to undocumented tenants, especially if you're running overcrowded accommodation or you have poor, damp conditions, you'll basically develop a reputation that attracts other criminal elements because those other criminals will think you're up for it, basically, and they'll just throw you your rent and do what they want to do with your building. In addition, you're exposing yourself to robbery and blackmail. Some criminals may target the landlord or the property, believing that, well, if they're involved in illicit activities and are getting large amount of cash from rent, which I have to say most people pay out the majority of the rent in bills and mortgage interest payments, then if you're a landlord who knowingly flouts the law, you're basically making yourself vulnerable to blackmail from the criminal groups or from the tenants. And also, if you think tenants who are illegal won't report the crimes, even crimes that they are subject to, so people committing a crime against them, because they know they're here illegally, so they'll feel that they've got no recourse to the British justice system, basically. So it makes it all more dangerous for everyone, the landlord, the tenant, and the neighbours. Then the piece that I was most concerned about is actually the threat to your personal safety during the process of managing your tenancy, whether it's the onboarding of the tenant, addressing poor behaviour, addressing late rent payments, or having to finally remove the tenant. Even though British law does help when you have to evict illegal migrants, the point is the law is just as cumbersome and clunky as it is trying to evict an ordinary tenant who is even a legal or a British citizen. Why, as a landlord, would you stack the odds against you and take on a more risky tenant? That doesn't make sense to me. What you're looking for is trying to protect yourself and set yourself up for success, obviously.